When combined together, Parshiyos Acharei and Kedoshim have more mitzvahs than any other parsha b'chol Torah kula. Kisei comes close with 74, but a combined Acharei Kedoshim has 79 mitzvahs. And so many of the mitzvahs that we find in this week's parsha are so fundamental to creating the Torah personality. The Avdal Recha Kamocha, Losisna Sachicha Bilvavecha, even the general dictates of Kedoshim Tiyu certainly inform what it is to be a Torah Jew. But yet, in his famous drasha in Yom Ha'atzmaut 1956, the Rav Zatzal, in Kol Dodi Dofek, called attention to another important mitzvah in this week's parsha. That's in Perek Yotes, Pasuk Tezayin, where the Torah tells us, Lo samar al dam reyecha, ani Hashem. The pasuk, the mitzvah of Lo samar al dam reyecha, not standing idly by when your brother's blood is in danger, Rav Soloveitchik said was a mitzvah that unfortunately the American Jewish community violating during the horrific years of the Shoah. Rav Soloveitchik confessed that he himself, he is concerned violated, lo samad al dam reyecha, by not doing enough, not protesting loudly enough, not raising the consciousness of the nation. And Rav Soloveitchik said so many decades ago, that lo samar al dam reyecha is part and parcel of defining ourselves as part of the community. And ad hayom hazeh, of course, when we hear things happening throughout the world, throughout the Jewish world, sometimes there's a sense of disconnect. Sometimes we say, that's not my community, it's not my chevra, it's not my type of Jew. But if you review the words of the Rav from Kol Dodi Dofek, the voice of my beloved is knocking, Rav Soloveitchik says that we can never fall prey to this Isser of Lo samar al dam reyecha. And in fact, the Rav says elsewhere that the very act of tefillah, when we daven, when we say a Misha Beirach, we have to know that we are being mekayim this mitzvah of Lo samar al dam reyecha. When we daven for another person who's ill, when we daven for another person's parnasa, we have to know that when we're feeling the pain of another, when we're concerned about what's going to happen to them, and we do something about it, we are fulfilling this mitzvah, making sure that we're not remaining inactive when we can do something to make a difference. In fact, I heard from a Talmud of the Rav that Rav Soloveitchik said this is why Yeshul is known as a Beis HaKnesses, a house of gathering. Yeshiva, we learn in a Beis HaMedrash, why isn't the Shul a Beis Tefillah? And the Rav said because part of the essence of the prayer experience is gathering together with others. Because a prayer that's only for yourself is not the epitome of Jewish prayer. Jewish prayer is when you see Yenim, you see another person in Shul, thinking that person needs a refuah, this person in their house, they're looking for a shidduch, this family is having, and you mispalel for others. And in fact, one of the Gedolei HaKabbalah today, Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter Shlita of Yushalayim, one of the great Hasidic Mashpiyim, Rabbi Yaakov Meir wrote a whole sefer, HaMivarech Yisbarich, where he argues in the Hakdama that person has to be makdid on saying Meya Brachos B'chol Yom. We know it's a Gemara Menachos Mem Gimel quoted Lahalach, and the Rambam quoted in Shulchan Aruch Simin Mem Vav. And when you look in the Shulchan Aruch, you look in the Torah tells us that the original enactment of Meya Brachos B'chol Yom was from David HaMelech U'Beis Dina, when there was a Magefa, and 100 people a day were dying, Rachmana Litzlan, young, old, men, women. There was no rhyme or reason. And David HaMelech U'Beis Dina were misaking to end the Magefa to say 100 brachos a day. And Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter, a very special person in Yerushalayim, that many, through gets thousands of visitors every year, people seeking Eitzah, seeking brachos, seeking guidance. Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter says so many people are in pain. So many people are looking for others to help them. He says, but each and every one of us, as long as we know another Jew in pain, we have to make sure that even our brachos, by saying our brachos b'kavana, he says we're bringing down tremendous shefa. We're bringing more of God's blessing and bounty into this world and helping people who are in need. And therefore, when we think about Parashat of Acharei Kedoshim, we think about the 79 mitzvahs, we have to recognize that there's one vital mitzvah that we can do in such an easy way, just having kavanas in our brachos, Just when we daven, as the Rav challenges us to make sure that our prayer experience is not just an experience for ourselves, and especially now, of course, during the Tkufa of Siras HaOmer, of the Eretz Kadma Torah, of Vayichan Shem Yisrael Neged Ha'ara, as Rav Aaron Zatzal, our great Rosh Hashiva, has taught us that although all the Jews had a little bit of a different perspective of Matan Torah, they saw it a little bit differently, but they were all still Ki'ish Echad B'Lev Echad. That we have to recognize our responsibility to the entire Jewish community and recognize that we can make a difference. Never, never to underestimate, through our brachos or our tefillos, how we can bind ourselves to the fate and destiny of the Jewish community, and how we can make sure that we do something that we don't stand idly by. Have a good Shabbos.